Good afternoon. How are you? It's another great day, except for the no-see-ums. They just swarm around your head. So if you see me grabbing at things, it's to avoid being stung by the no-see-ums. Biden gave a great speech yesterday warning of the assault on democracy. But here's the problem, and it's been the problem with our entire discussion about the assault on democracy. Why don't we act? Now, the conversation by Biden is addressing voting. But he is the President of the United States. He could make a declaration that we should be chasing after these wrongdoers and put them in the slammer. And this is a long way away from when Trump was saying, lock her up. We're not even saying lock her up. We'll say prosecute them because we have all the evidence. Everybody's seen it, and we're not doing anything about it. And if we fail in this midterm election, it will be because our leaders failed to act. Because talk is cheap. We hear it all the time in our life from the time we're a kid until now. What are you doing? What are you actually doing? And the answer is we're investigating, we're thinking, we're talking, we're telling you what happened. But you're not doing the ultimate act, which is to prosecute people for violating our law, our Constitution, our individual rights and civil liberties. That's the problem. Threats don't matter. And, if we win, it's going to be because of the people. And there's an interesting local poll here about what are people looking for in the election. And overwhelmingly, the percentage of this perhaps unscientific sampling was integrity. And that is the magical answer to the autocrats. If we win in the election, and that means that we defeat these election deniers, the far rightists, the liars, all of that. If we defeat that in a substantial theme across America on election day or in the days after that when the votes get counted, we will have proven that integrity, although they didn't put it on the polls, that's the thing that mattered. Integrity, a person who has character, values, a standard to follow, our law and Constitution, perhaps an individual faith system, who actually accomplishes something. That's what we want. That's integrity. Lying, scaring, using violence, making fun of people who are hurt, that's not integrity. So that's the question for America. We look at Brazil, and we saw how very close they were. I think it's a separation of 2 million votes, which is not penny ante, but that's pretty serious. Are we going to have an election like that across America in which we're razor thin in our difference between the autocrats and the Democrats? That's a strange place for us to be. In the category of it's hard to believe, we have stories about Putin threats, that is, for nuclear weapons. His generals are discussing it. What is going to be our response if that happens? Well, the only thing I can think of, and some of you may have seen it, and you can still see it, it's worth seeing, Dr. Strangelove. I think it came out in 1964. I was a kid, and we were on a trip to Washington, D.C., and we watched the movie. It was riveting and terrifying then. And now, after we had the scare of missiles in Cuba and Ted Kennedy and the brinkmanship of how they avoided a nuclear confrontation, maybe a Holocaust then, here we are again. And again, it's Russia and the United States, and it's Putin, and he's reaching specifically for territory in the Ukraine, and it's an old story of imperialism. And is it possible that rather than lose at his age, he decides it's worth to throw all the dice on the table, all the money on the bet, and go nuclear? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to read it as true and back off helping Ukraine because that appears to be his objective? People have asked if the people on the street were connected with the people in the White House and there was any exchange of information and so forth. And apparently the Oath Keeper Rhodes did try to convince, so they say, Trump to use paramilitary sources to help keep himself in office. Sweet. In a similar category that is about Trump, you have the situation of key documents that he has, he's not supposed to have. They're top secret. He took them out, and so forth. And Kash Patel is in a position to answer whether or not he tinkled holy water on the documents and said they're all declassified, or he went into a meditation and he thought that. Anyhow, he's being called before the grand jury. They're giving him immunity to testify. The question is, will he come clean if he really does know anything? And if he doesn't, how could you prosecute him for perjury if you need him to prove what you're accusing him of lying about? That's not my problem, but it's not the way I would have approached it. And we seem to go for the stars, maybe to say we've gone for the stars, ignoring the fact that we should be going after those people who can close the case, who can do the deal, carry the last bit of information that we need. I frankly think that what the January 6th committee came up with was quite sufficient. So are we just doing this to get headlines and pretend something's happening when we're not prepared to do anything at all? And I go back to Biden warning us yesterday about the danger to democracy and not prosecuting the criminals that compromise it. Not good. We can't ignore the fact that the far right seems to be gaining ground around the world. And the latest surprise is that Netanyahu in Israel is the prime minister again. Can you believe that? And if you want to think about one of the many possibilities should the Republicans take the House and the Senate, just think of Rand Paul running investigations out of the Senate Health Committee on Fauci, because those two have had exchanges at previous hearings when the Democrats were running the meeting. So what do you think it's going to be like if the people make the mistake and give the Senate to the Republicans? So that's really what I got to say. It is a gorgeous day, prettier, more balanced, more pleasing to the soul, more worthy of praise than anything our leaders are doing. I hold out a special exception. Don't you love Obama on the stump? Okay, well, that's what I got. All the best. Have a good evening. I'll try to get out tomorrow and get you guys. Bye-bye.